The Smart Investor's Playbook. Mastering Your Money for Long-Term Freedom. Written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. Money, it's one of the most powerful forces in our lives, shaping the choices we make, the opportunities we pursue, and the futures we envision. Yet, for so many people, money feels like a constant source of stress, confusion, or even fear. The idea of mastering it seems overwhelming, something reserved for Wall Street insiders or the incredibly lucky. But here's the truth: you don't need a finance degree or a six-figure salary to take control of your financial future. All you need is a plan, the right mindset, and the determination to start. The Smart Investor's Playbook isn't about shortcuts or gimmicks. It's about proven strategies that work for everyday people. Whether you're just starting your financial journey, climbing out of debt, or looking to grow your wealth, this book is your guide. Think of it as a playbook, offering clear, actionable steps to help you make better decisions, build lasting habits, and most importantly, take control of your money. Let's face it, the world of finance can feel intimidating. It's easy to get lost in the jargon, or to believe you're too late, too inexperienced, or too average to achieve financial success. But here's the thing: financial freedom isn't reserved for the privileged few. It's attainable for anyone who's willing to take small, consistent steps toward their goals. This book will show you how. Inside, you'll find not just numbers and theories, but stories. Stories of people like you who transformed their financial lives with simple, intentional actions. You'll learn how to craft a budget that works, invest like a pro, avoid common money traps, and even build a legacy that lasts for generations. More importantly, you'll discover that money isn't just about numbers, it's about freedom, choices, and the life you want to create. This journey is about more than dollars and cents. It's about reclaiming your power and designing a future you're excited to wake up to. So take a deep breath, flip the page, and let's get started. Chapter 1: The Freedom Blueprint. Imagine waking up without the weight of financial stress dragging you down. Think about a life where money doesn't dictate your choices but instead works as a tool to give you options. For many, this feels like a distant dream, yet it's entirely possible. It begins with a single decision to create your financial freedom blueprint. Olivia had never considered herself bad with money, but she wasn't exactly good with it either. Her paychecks disappeared almost as quickly as they arrived. Rent, utilities, streaming subscriptions, takeout, and impulse buys, it all added up. There were times when she felt like she was treading water, constantly moving but never making progress. One day, as she looked around her tiny apartment, the realization hit her: if she didn't change her habits, 5 years down the road, her life would look exactly the same. That thought lit a fire inside her, pushing her to take control of her financial future. The first step in her journey was figuring out her why. Financial freedom wasn't just about the numbers for Olivia, it was about choices. She dreamed of traveling without guilt, helping her parents retire comfortably, and someday working because she wanted to, not because she had to. Her why became the cornerstone of her plan, a beacon guiding her decisions when temptations threatened to derail her progress. Next, Olivia took inventory of her finances. It was a painful process, uncovering just how much money was slipping through her fingers. Coffee runs, last-minute online purchases, and monthly memberships she rarely used, it was all there, laid bare in her bank statements. But instead of spiraling into guilt, Olivia reframed her mindset. She wasn't losing control, she was gaining clarity. Every dollar she could redirect toward her goals brought her one step closer to financial independence. She started small. Olivia set aside just $50 a week in a high-yield savings account. At first, it didn't seem like much, but over time that $50 became $100, then $200, and soon she was saving $500 a month. Within a year, Olivia had saved enough to start exploring investments, something she'd always found intimidating but now saw as a gateway to true wealth building. Her blueprint also included setting a measurable goal: save $10,000 in 2 years. That figure became her North Star. Whenever she faced decisions, whether to splurge on a weekend getaway or stick to her budget, she thought about her goal. It wasn't always easy, but with her why in mind, she stayed focused. And when she finally hit her target, something shifted. For the first time, she believed that financial freedom was within reach. Olivia's story isn't unique. Across the world, people are breaking free from the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle by following a similar blueprint. They're not waiting for a lucky break or some windfall, they're taking small, consistent steps that compound over time. The journey starts not with perfect circumstances, but with the decision to prioritize their future selves. As you listen to this, think about your own life. What does financial freedom mean to you? Is it the ability to live comfortably without worrying about bills? The freedom to retire early? Or perhaps it's the joy of giving back to your community? Whatever it is, write it down, visualize it, and let it become your why. This isn't just about money, it's about reclaiming your time, your energy, and your potential. The path ahead won't always be easy, but each step you take will bring you closer to the life you've envisioned. Like Olivia, you have the power to rewrite your financial story. All it takes is a plan and the courage to stick with it. So, what's your blueprint going to look like? Chapter 2. Mindset Matters Most. Money wasn't the problem for David, it was his mindset. Despite earning a comfortable income as a sales manager, David constantly felt trapped. No matter how much he made, there was always another bill, another unexpected expense, another reason to tell himself he wasn't cut out to build wealth. For years, he blamed external factors, the economy, his student loans, even the town he lived in. It wasn't until he shifted his perspective that his financial life began to change. David's turning point came during a conversation with a friend. She told him, "You're not stuck because of your income, you're stuck because of how you think about money." At first, the comment stung. But as he thought about it, he realized she was right. David had spent years treating money as a problem to be solved rather than a tool to be mastered. His beliefs about money, formed from childhood experiences and reinforced by fear, were holding him back. Shifting your mindset isn't easy. It requires unlearning decades of habits and beliefs that feel ingrained. But here's the truth: every successful investor, entrepreneur, and self-made millionaire started by confronting their own mental roadblocks. They recognized that how they thought about money directly influenced how they handled it. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to move from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. A scarcity mindset whispers, "There's never enough." It makes you clutch onto every dollar, afraid to take risks or invest in yourself. It convinces you that other people's success diminishes your own opportunities. But an abundance mindset? It reminds you that wealth is limitless and that value is created, not just distributed. It encourages you to see opportunities where others see obstacles. Take Anna, for example. As a young graphic designer, she believed that her industry was oversaturated and that she'd never earn more than a modest income. But once she started thinking abundantly, her perspective shifted. She realized that by honing her skills and offering niche services, she could stand out. She took courses, networked with successful designers, and positioned herself as an expert in a specific style. Within a year, her client base doubled, and so did her rates. What changed? Not her industry, her mindset. Another critical element of a wealth-oriented mindset is confidence. Many people hesitate to make financial moves, whether it's negotiating a salary, starting a side hustle, or investing, because they fear failure. Confidence isn't about knowing everything, it's about trusting yourself to learn and adapt. When you make a decision with confidence, even if it doesn't go perfectly, you've gained something invaluable: experience. David's journey toward confidence started with small wins. He set a goal to save $1,000 in 3 months. It wasn't easy, he had to cut back on takeout and redirect his bonus toward savings, but he did it. That small victory fueled his belief in his ability to manage money, and he began setting bigger goals. Confidence, like a muscle, grows stronger with use. Finally, a successful financial mindset embraces growth. The world is constantly changing, and staying stuck in old ways of thinking is a recipe for stagnation. People with a growth mindset see challenges as opportunities to improve. They ask questions, seek mentors, and view setbacks as temporary hurdles rather than permanent failures. So what's holding you back? Is it the fear that you don't know enough about investing? The belief that you're destined to struggle because of your upbringing? Or maybe the thought that building wealth is only for a lucky few? Whatever it is, recognize it for what it is, a mindset, not a fact. And here's the good news: you have the power to change it. Think about this. If you could approach money without fear, what would you do differently? Would you start that business you've been dreaming about? Ask for the raise you know you deserve? Or maybe finally take the leap into investing? Shifting your mindset is the first step toward transforming your financial future. And it starts right here, with the decision to believe that you are capable, worthy, and ready to create abundance. Chapter 3. Decoding the Money Game. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have a natural talent for building wealth while others struggle just to get by? It's not magic, luck, or even intelligence. It's understanding the rules of the money game and how to play it better than most. When Clara was growing up, her parents taught her that money was for spending. If you earned it, you deserved to enjoy it. And so she did. The moment her paycheck hit her account, it seemed to vanish. Groceries, bills, dinners out, and the occasional splurge drained her bank balance before the month was half over. It wasn't until a friend mentioned the concept of paying yourself first that Clara realized she'd been playing the money game without even knowing the rules. Understanding money starts with seeing it as more than just something you earn and spend. Money is a tool, and how you use that tool determines the kind of life you build. The first rule of the money game is this: always make your money work for you. Most people spend their lives working for money, but the wealthy know the secret: money can work harder and longer than you ever could. One of the most powerful tools in the money game is compound interest. Imagine planting a seed that grows into a tree, and that tree produces more seeds that grow into more trees. This is how compound interest works. Albert Einstein once called it the eighth wonder of the world, and for good reason. Every dollar you save and invest doesn't just sit there, it multiplies over time. Take Ben and Lisa as examples. Ben started investing $200 a month when he was 25. Lisa didn't start until she was 35 but decided to invest $400 a month to catch up. By the time they both turned 65, Ben had significantly more money in his account, even though Lisa contributed the same amount overall. Why? Because Ben had a 10-year head start, allowing compound interest to work its magic. The lesson here is clear: the earlier you start, the more your money grows. But building wealth isn't just about saving and investing. It's about knowing the difference between assets and liabilities. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket, like investments, rental properties, or a business. A liability, on the other hand, takes money out of your pocket. Too often, people confuse the two. They buy expensive cars, thinking they're assets, but cars depreciate in value. The wealthy focus on accumulating assets that grow over time. Then there's the importance of understanding cash flow. Picture a bucket with water pouring in from the top and holes in the bottom. Your income is the water going in, and your expenses are the holes. To build wealth, you need to increase the flow of water income while plugging the holes unnecessary expenses. It sounds simple, but mastering cash flow is what separates the financially stable from those constantly in survival mode. Clara learned these rules and began applying them to her life. She started small, redirecting $50 a month into an investment account. She learned to prioritize assets over liabilities, choosing to invest in index funds instead of buying a new car. Within a year, her financial picture had completely transformed. For the first time, she felt like she was winning the money game, not by earning more, but by using what she had more wisely. Here's the truth: money doesn't care about your background, education, or circumstances. It follows the same rules for everyone. The difference lies in how well you understand and apply those rules. The question is, are you ready to start playing to win? Imagine your future self looking back at today. Will you be proud of the financial choices you made? The money game isn't about luck or shortcuts, it's about strategy, discipline, and understanding. The sooner you start learning the rules, the sooner you can put them to work for you. Chapter 4. Earning with Purpose. Money always seemed elusive to Javier. He worked long hours at a corporate job, yet no matter how hard he tried, he felt like he was running on a treadmill, moving constantly but getting nowhere. His breaking point came when he missed his son's soccer championship because of overtime. Is this what I'm working for? He wondered. That question sparked a journey that changed everything. Javier learned how to earn with purpose. For years, Javier believed that the only way to earn more was to work harder. But that belief was flawed. Earning with purpose isn't about working yourself into the ground, it's about understanding your value, leveraging your skills, and aligning your income with your long-term goals. To start, Javier took a hard look at his talents. What did he enjoy? What did he excel at? He realized that his natural ability to solve problems was his most valuable skill. His corporate job only scratched the surface of what he could do, so he began exploring side hustles. With his problem-solving expertise, he started consulting for small businesses that needed help streamlining their processes. It began as a weekend gig, but within months, it was generating as much as his full-time salary. Here's the first rule of earning with purpose: recognize your highest value skill. Whether it's a talent for writing, a knack for sales, or an ability to create digital content, your skills are assets. The key is figuring out how to monetize them. Many people overlook the fact that what comes easily to them might be invaluable to someone else. When you align your earning potential with your natural strengths, work feels less like a grind and more like a fulfilling pursuit. Another crucial part of earning with purpose is diversification. Think of your income streams as a table. If it only has one leg, your primary job, it's unstable. But if you add side hustles, investments, or freelance work, suddenly that table has multiple legs to stand on. Diversification not only protects you from financial shocks like layoffs but also opens the door to exponential growth. Take Mia, for instance. She worked as a teacher and loved her job but knew the salary would never allow her to retire early. Instead of abandoning her passion, she began tutoring online in the evenings. Later, she created an e-book filled with her most effective lesson plans. The royalties from that e-book surprised her. They covered her mortgage in the first year alone. Mia didn't leave her day job, she simply added additional streams of income that played to her strengths. Javier also learned the importance of setting financial targets. Without a clear goal, he realized it was too easy to fall into the trap of working aimlessly. He defined what financial freedom looked like for him, covering his family's needs, saving for retirement, and having the flexibility to spend time with his kids. That clarity helped him make smarter choices about how and where to focus his efforts. Of course, there were setbacks along the way. His first consulting client delayed payments, and his second project fell apart because of miscommunication. But here's the thing: every stumble taught him something. He learned how to negotiate better contracts, how to spot red flags with clients, and how to protect his time. Failure wasn't the end of his journey, it was a stepping stone toward success. Earning with purpose isn't just about making more money, it's about making your money count. It's about building a life where your income aligns with your goals and values. Think about it: are you working hard just to stay afloat, or are you building something meaningful? What skills do you have that could open doors to new opportunities? What would your financial life look like if you diversified your income streams? These are the questions that can transform the way you think about earning. Javier now spends his weekends coaching his son's soccer team. He's still working, but he's working smarter, not harder. His income doesn't just sustain his lifestyle, it supports the life he's always wanted. And that's the difference earning with purpose can make. Chapter 5. The Power of the Budget. Erin used to cringe at the word budget. To her, it felt like a punishment, a set of rigid rules designed to take the joy out of spending. She hated spreadsheets, avoided looking at her bank balance, and justified her overspending with a simple mantra: "I'll figure it out later." But later came sooner than she expected. A rejected credit card at the grocery store was her wake-up call. She realized that if she didn't take control of her money, it would continue to control her. That's when Erin discovered the power of the budget, not as a restraint, but as a roadmap to freedom. The first thing Erin learned is that a budget isn't about deprivation, it's about intention. Every dollar has a job, and a good budget helps you assign those jobs in alignment with your goals. Erin's problem wasn't that she didn't earn enough, it was that she wasn't telling her money where to go. She decided to start small, tracking her expenses for a month. It was uncomfortable, even embarrassing at times, but it gave her the clarity she needed to move forward. Creating a budget starts with understanding two things: your income and your expenses. Erin realized she had been underestimating her spending for years. Coffee runs, subscription services, and weekend outings added up in ways she hadn't considered. But instead of beating herself up, she used that information to build a realistic plan. Her new mantra became, "Know better, do better." Erin adopted a method called zero-based budgeting. In this system, every dollar she earned was assigned a purpose, from rent to savings to entertainment. If her income was $3,000, then $3,000 had to be accounted for. It forced her to think critically about what really mattered. Did she need another streaming subscription, or would that money be better spent building her emergency fund? Over time, the decisions became easier because she saw the results: a growing savings account, less debt, and more peace of mind. One of the most transformative aspects of budgeting is its ability to help you align spending with your values. Before budgeting, Erin often bought things impulsively, hoping they would bring her happiness. But budgeting shifted her mindset. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" she began asking, "Does this align with my goals?" That subtle shift was a game changer. She realized she valued experiences over possessions, so she started prioritizing travel and cutting back on clothes and gadgets. Budgets also act as a safety net for life's uncertainties. Unexpected expenses, like medical bills or car repairs, are inevitable. Erin learned this the hard way when her car broke down shortly after she started budgeting. In the past, she would have panicked and relied on a credit card. But because she had built an emergency fund, she handled the repair without stress. That moment solidified her belief in the power of a budget. Of course, budgeting isn't without its challenges. Erin found herself slipping back into old habits during a stressful week at work. She overspent on takeout and felt guilty about it. But instead of giving up, she reminded herself that budgets aren't about perfection, they're about progress. She recalibrated her spending for the rest of the month and got back on track. That flexibility made all the difference. As Erin continued to budget, she noticed something remarkable. She felt lighter. Money was no longer a source of anxiety but a tool she controlled. Her goals felt within reach because she had a clear plan to achieve them. Think about your own financial life. Does your spending align with your goals? Are you in control of your money, or does it feel like it's controlling you? A budget isn't just a document, it's a declaration of your priorities. It's a tool that helps you live intentionally and build a future you're excited about. Erin's story is proof that a budget doesn't limit you, it empowers you. It gives you the freedom to spend on what matters most and the confidence to face whatever challenges come your way. Imagine what your life could look like with that kind of clarity and control. The power of the budget is waiting for you to tap into it. Chapter 6. Invest like the pros. Marcus sat at his computer, staring at a sea of numbers and charts. Every article he read about investing seemed to contradict the last, and every hot tip from friends left him more confused. He thought investing was for Wall Street insiders, not someone like him. But Marcus was wrong. He didn't need a finance degree or a crystal ball to invest wisely, he just needed the right approach. The truth is, investing is less about predicting the future and more about following proven principles. Successful investors don't chase trends or gamble on risky stocks. Instead, they focus on building a diversified portfolio that grows steadily over time. The good news? You can do the same. The first step to investing like a pro is understanding the basics. Investments generally fall into a few key categories: stocks, which represent ownership in a company, bonds, which are essentially loans to governments or corporations, and real estate, which can provide both income and long-term appreciation. Each asset class has its pros and cons, but they all share one common trait: they have the potential to grow your wealth over time. Marcus's first breakthrough came when he learned about index funds. Unlike individual stocks, which require hours of research and carry significant risk, index funds pool investments across an entire market. They're low-cost, diversified, and ideal for beginners. Marcus started with an S&P 500 index fund, which tracks the top 500 companies in the U.S. He didn't need to pick winners or time the market, he just needed to stay consistent. Consistency is another hallmark of successful investors. Instead of waiting for the perfect time to start, Marcus began with $100 a month. He set up automatic contributions so he wouldn't be tempted to skip a month. Over time, those small amounts added up. Thanks to the power of compound growth, his initial investments began earning returns, and those returns started earning returns. It was like a snowball rolling downhill, growing bigger and faster with each passing year. Another lesson Marcus learned was the importance of diversification. Putting all your money in one stock, or even one type of asset, is like putting all your eggs in one basket. If the basket falls, you lose everything. Diversifying your investments spreads out the risk. Marcus's portfolio eventually included not just index funds, but also bonds for stability and some exposure to international markets for growth potential. One of the most intimidating parts of investing is the fear of losing money. And yes, markets do go up and down. But here's what separates the pros from the amateurs: the pros don't panic. They understand that volatility is a normal part of investing, and that over the long term, markets tend to rise. Marcus reminded himself of this every time the market dipped. Instead of pulling his money out in fear, he saw downturns as opportunities to invest at a discount. Investing is also about understanding your risk tolerance. Marcus realized that while he was comfortable with some level of risk, he didn't want to be glued to his portfolio or stressed about every market fluctuation. He chose investments that matched his comfort level, which allowed him to stay committed for the long haul. One of Marcus's biggest takeaways was the value of education and mentorship. He read books by experienced investors, listened to podcasts, and joined online communities where people shared their strategies and experiences. He didn't try to reinvent the wheel, he learned from those who had already succeeded. As you think about your own investing journey, ask yourself, what's stopping you from getting started? Is it fear of the unknown? A belief that you don't have enough money? Remember, you don't need to be wealthy to invest, you just need to begin. Start small, stay consistent, and focus on the long term. Investing like the pros isn't about beating the market or finding the next big thing. It's about building a solid foundation, making informed decisions, and letting time do the heavy lifting. Marcus didn't become a millionaire overnight, but he planted the seeds of wealth, and with patience, those seeds began to grow. The question is, will you plant yours? Chapter 7. Overcoming Financial Pitfalls. When Sophie first looked at her finances, it felt like staring into an abyss. Credit card bills piled up on her kitchen counter, each one carrying more interest than the last. Her student loans loomed like a mountain she couldn't climb, and payday never seemed to stretch far enough. But Sophie's real obstacle wasn't her debt, it was the shame and fear that kept her stuck. She believed she was too far gone to fix things, until one day she decided to stop running from her finances and face them head-on. Everyone makes financial mistakes. What separates those who build wealth from those who stay stuck isn't perfection, it's the ability to learn from those mistakes and move forward. Overcoming financial pitfalls starts with understanding them, acknowledging them, and developing a plan to avoid them in the future. Sophie's first step was facing her debt. Instead of avoiding it, she wrote down every number, her credit card balances, loan amounts, interest rates, and minimum payments. It was overwhelming, but it gave her clarity. She realized she was paying more in interest each month than she spent on groceries. That clarity was her turning point. One of the most common financial pitfalls is living beyond your means. It's easy to swipe a credit card and rationalize, I'll pay it off later. But later often turns into years of compounding interest and missed opportunities. Sophie learned to distinguish between wants and needs. She created a spending plan that prioritized essentials and left room for small indulgences, without jeopardizing her long-term goals. Another major pitfall is the emotional side of money. Many people, like Sophie, fall into the trap of retail therapy, using shopping as a way to cope with stress or sadness. But those fleeting moments of happiness often lead to regret. To break the cycle, Sophie started replacing her emotional spending with healthier habits. Instead of buying things she didn't need, she took up journaling and yoga. Over time, her mindset shifted, and she began to feel in control rather than reactive. Sophie also discovered the power of the debt snowball method. She listed her debts from smallest to largest and focused on paying off the smallest balance first. Each time she eliminated a debt, she gained momentum and confidence. It wasn't just about the numbers, it was about proving to herself that she could do it. Financial pitfalls aren't limited to debt. Another trap is failing to prepare for emergencies. Sophie had always thought, I'll start saving once I'm out of debt. But life doesn't wait for the perfect moment. When her car broke down unexpectedly, she had to put the repair on a credit card, adding to her financial stress. That experience taught her the importance of building an emergency fund, even if it meant starting small. She began setting aside $20 a week, and within a year, she had enough to cover unexpected expenses without reaching for her credit card. One of the hardest lessons Sophie learned was about the cost of inaction. For years, she avoided looking at her finances because it felt too overwhelming. But every month she delayed, her debt grew, and her opportunities shrank. She realized that waiting didn't make the problem go away, it made it worse. Once she took action, even small steps, the weight began to lift. Overcoming financial pitfalls is about more than just fixing mistakes, it's about changing habits and beliefs. Sophie's story isn't unique. Millions of people face similar challenges, and many feel like there's no way out. But the truth is, there's always a way forward. It starts with a decision to take responsibility and a willingness to learn. As you reflect on your own financial journey, ask yourself what's holding you back. Are you avoiding something out of fear or shame? The path to financial freedom isn't linear, and it's not free of mistakes. But every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goals. Sophie now lives with confidence. Her debts are under control, her emergency fund is growing, and she no longer fears the unexpected. Her journey wasn't easy, but it was worth it. And yours can be too. Chapter 8. Wealth as a Lifestyle. For years, Alan equated wealth with luxury, expensive cars, designer clothes, lavish vacations. Yet, despite earning a six-figure salary as a software engineer, he never felt truly wealthy. His money disappeared into flashy purchases and impulse buys that brought short-term satisfaction, but left him empty in the long run. It wasn't until a conversation with his retired mentor, Daniel, that Alan realized wealth wasn't about extravagance, it was about alignment. Daniel lived modestly in a cozy home with a used car in the driveway. To Alan, he seemed far removed from the trappings of wealth, yet Daniel radiated a sense of peace and fulfillment. Over coffee one afternoon, Daniel said something that stuck with Alan. Wealth isn't what you own, it's how you live. True wealth means being able to design your life around what matters most to you. That conversation marked the beginning of Alan's journey to redefine his relationship with wealth. He started by asking himself a question most people overlook. What does a wealthy life actually look like to me? For Alan, it wasn't about accumulating things, it was about having the freedom to work on projects he loved, spending quality time with his family, and feeling secure about his financial future. Alan realized that his old spending habits were misaligned with his values. He had been chasing an image of wealth instead of building the kind of life he truly wanted. This insight led him to embrace the idea of intentional spending, using money as a tool to enhance his life, not to impress others. Living a wealth-oriented lifestyle starts with mindfulness. Alan began tracking his spending, not to restrict himself, but to understand where his money was going. He discovered that he was spending hundreds of dollars a month on things that didn't bring him joy or value. By cutting back on the unnecessary, like dining out 5 times a week, he freed up money to invest in experiences that enriched his life, like family vacations and online courses to develop his skills. Another shift Alan made was focusing on quality over quantity. Instead of buying cheap items that needed constant replacement, he invested in fewer, higher quality purchases that lasted longer. This didn't just apply to things, it applied to how he spent his time. He started prioritizing meaningful connections over superficial networking, choosing depth over breadth in every area of his life. One of the most important lessons Alan learned was about mindful saving. While many people save out of fear, afraid of running out of money, Alan saved with purpose. He created separate funds for specific goals, like a family trip to Europe and a down payment on a future home. Each time he contributed to these accounts, it felt less like a sacrifice and more like an investment in his dreams. A wealth-oriented lifestyle also means finding joy in simplicity. Alan used to believe that happiness required a big house, but he discovered that what he really valued was a sense of coziness and community. He downsized to a smaller home in a neighborhood where his kids could play outside, and the change brought his family closer together. Living in alignment with wealth doesn't mean cutting out fun, it means defining what fun means to you. Alan still enjoyed the occasional splurge, but he did so intentionally, savoring the experience rather than mindlessly chasing the next big purchase. He also began giving back, donating to causes he cared about, which deepened his sense of purpose and connection. The transformation wasn't just financial, it was emotional. Alan no longer felt like he was on a hamster wheel, earning and spending without direction. He felt grounded, purposeful, and genuinely wealthy, even without the flashy trappings of success. As you reflect on your life, think about this. Are your financial decisions aligned with what truly matters to you? Wealth isn't about a number in your bank account, it's about creating a life that feels rich with meaning, joy, and freedom. By living intentionally and aligning your money with your values, you can embrace a wealth-oriented lifestyle that's deeply satisfying. Alan's journey reminds us that wealth isn't a destination, it's a way of being. True wealth is about living in harmony with what you value most, and the best part, you don't have to wait to start. It begins with one choice, one habit, one step toward a life designed for you. Chapter 9. Generational wealth. When Priya received her grandmother's handmade quilt, she thought of it as just another family heirloom. It wasn't until years later, when she unwrapped it to show her daughter, that she noticed something embroidered in the corner, "For those who come after me." That small inscription hit her like a wave. It was more than a quilt, it was a message, a legacy passed down from one generation to the next. Priya began to wonder, what would she leave for her children? Not just materially, but in wisdom and opportunity? Generational wealth is often misunderstood. People assume it's only for the ultra-rich, inheritances of sprawling estates or million-dollar trust funds. But true generational wealth is about more than money. It's the resources, values, and knowledge we pass on to help the next generation thrive. Whether you're leaving behind a portfolio or a mindset, what you build today can echo for decades, shaping lives long after you're gone. Priya's first step in creating generational wealth was getting her own finances in order. She started with a simple question: what do I want my family to inherit? For her, the answer wasn't just money, it was financial security, opportunities for education, and the tools to make good decisions. To achieve that, she focused on two key pillars: growing her wealth and preserving it. Building wealth starts with investing. Priya began contributing to a diversified portfolio, ensuring her money would grow over time. She prioritized assets with long-term value, like index funds and real estate. But she didn't stop there, she also invested in her family. She opened education accounts for her kids and talked to them about the basics of saving, budgeting, and investing. She knew that wealth alone wasn't enough, the knowledge to manage it was just as important. One of the most powerful tools Priya used was estate planning. Like many people, she had put off writing a will because it felt overwhelming. But after speaking with a financial advisor, she realized that a well-crafted estate plan wasn't just about distributing assets, it was about protecting her family from uncertainty. By setting up trusts and designating beneficiaries, Priya ensured that her children would have a clear path forward, no matter what happened. Generational wealth also means passing down values. Priya thought back to the lessons her grandmother taught her about generosity and hard work. She wanted her children to grow up with those same principles, so she made it a point to include them in financial discussions. Instead of shielding them from money matters, she turned everyday moments, like grocery shopping or planning vacations, into teachable opportunities. It wasn't always easy. There were moments of doubt, like when unexpected medical bills ate into her savings, but Priya saw those challenges as part of the process. She taught her children that setbacks were normal and that resilience was key. By modeling perseverance and a growth mindset, she gave them tools that would last far longer than any inheritance. Generational wealth isn't just about your own family. Priya also thought about how her actions could impact her community. She started mentoring young women in financial literacy and donated to scholarships for first-generation college students. By creating opportunities for others, she extended her legacy beyond her immediate household. As you think about building generational wealth, ask yourself, what do you want your family to inherit? It could be a paid-off home, a portfolio of investments, or simply the confidence to make sound financial choices. Generational wealth doesn't require millions, it requires intention. Every small step you take today can have a ripple effect on the lives of those who come after you. Imagine a future where your children, or their children, look back and see you as the foundation of their financial freedom. Priya's journey is a reminder that building generational wealth isn't about perfection or privilege, it's about making deliberate choices and taking consistent action. The quilt her grandmother left her wasn't just a symbol of warmth, it was a promise that what we leave behind matters. Now Priya is weaving her own legacy, one decision at a time. Chapter 10. Your freedom, your future. It was a crisp autumn morning when Thomas took his first walk as a retiree. He wasn't yet 50, but he had reached the milestone he'd been planning for since his early 20s, financial freedom. As he strolled through the park, sipping his coffee, he thought back to the countless moments of doubt, the sacrifices, and the small decisions that had brought him here. Freedom wasn't just a concept, it was his reality. And the best part, he'd designed it himself. The journey to financial freedom starts with a choice to prioritize your goals over fleeting pleasures, to take control of your money rather than letting it control you. But financial freedom isn't just about money, it's about creating a life where your time, energy, and focus are truly your own. It's about living on your terms. Thomas didn't come from wealth, In fact, his family struggled financially, living paycheck to paycheck. But early on, he decided he wanted something different. He wanted a future where he didn't have to trade hours for dollars forever. So he created a plan. It wasn't perfect, and it didn't happen overnight. But through persistence, adaptability, and clear goals, he turned his dream into reality. The first step Thomas took was defining his version of freedom. For some, it might mean retiring early. For others, it's the ability to travel, start a business, or spend more time with family. Freedom isn't a one-size-fits-all concept. The key is to figure out what it looks like for you and let that vision guide your decisions. Thomas's next step was focusing on habits that compounded over time. He consistently saved 20% of his income, no matter how tight things felt. He invested in low-cost index funds, letting compound interest work its magic. And he lived below his means, prioritizing future security over short-term gratification. Each small step built on the last, creating a foundation that grew stronger year after year. But financial freedom isn't just about what you save, it's also about what you build. Thomas diversified his income streams by starting a side hustle as a freelance writer, which eventually grew into a full-time gig. The flexibility of self-employment allowed him to control his schedule, spend more time with his kids, and accelerate his financial goals. One of the hardest parts of Thomas's journey was resisting the temptation to compare himself to others. While his friends upgraded to bigger houses and newer cars, Thomas stuck to his plan. He drove the same reliable car for years, lived in a modest home, and avoided debt like the plague. It wasn't glamorous, but it was purposeful. Every decision he made was tied to his vision of freedom. As Thomas's wealth grew, so did his confidence. He realized that financial freedom wasn't just about having enough money, it was about having the mindset to use it wisely. He took calculated risks, invested in himself through education, and surrounded himself with mentors who shared his vision. He learned that freedom comes from knowing you have options, and options come from the choices you make today. Now, as Thomas reflects on his journey, he's most proud of the life he's created. He has the freedom to wake up without an alarm, to spend his days doing work he loves, and to show his children what's possible when you commit to a goal. His story is a testament to the power of planning, persistence, and purpose. So what about you? What does your freedom look like? Maybe it's the ability to take a year off to travel the world. Maybe it's building a business that aligns with your passions. Or perhaps it's simply the peace of knowing you're prepared for whatever life throws your way. Whatever your vision is, know that it's within your reach. As we wrap up this journey together, remember, financial freedom isn't just for the lucky or the privileged. It's for anyone willing to take small, consistent steps toward their goals. It's for those who dare to dream of something better and are brave enough to make it happen. Your future is yours to design, and every choice you make today shapes the life you'll live tomorrow. The road ahead won't always be easy, but it will be worth it. Take the first step, then the next, and before you know it, you'll be walking your own version of freedom, just like Thomas. The question is, are you ready to start? Take care and be well.